Eagles. Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. I want everybody to buckle in. We are 2 weeks out, exactly 2 weeks out from the Eagles reporting to training camp. So enjoy your last 2 weeks of freedom, everybody, because the Eagles will take a grip on your life starting in 2 weeks if they haven't already. Johnny Mac, how you doing this Tuesday morning, my friend?
Doing well. Happy All-Star festivities for everybody who enjoyed that. Evidently, it was tremendous from a fan standpoint, and fans showed up and showed out. I'm not a big fan of All-Star, but hey, if you have fun with it, have fun. I always say, if it's fun, go have fun, man. It's entertainment at the end of the day.
Yeah, I didn't catch it last night, John. I was a little bogged down with some other stuff. But what the home run derby was last night?
Yeah, home run derby. Schwarber lost in the finals. You know, they booed everybody that didn't have a Phillies uniform on. So the crowd is more, it's the thing, you know, typically baseball crowds are more laid back. It's more, you know, it's more laid back atmosphere, more like, not in Philly. It's like a football game. So,
Yeah, right.
So I think that was like the star of the show was the crowd, to be honest. But it was on Netflix. I watched a little bit, but then I was like, it's just not my thing. All Stars, but if you enjoy it, like I said, if you have fun, God bless. But
yeah, I'm gonna watch the highlights. Apparently, this dude had ripped off 6 homers to end it to beat Kyle Schwarber. That's pretty good. So I'll watch that. I'll catch up on
a
that.
difficult atmosphere. So that dude deserves credit.
Yeah, what's the guy's name? Jordan Walker. His name is
Jordan
Walker. Yeah, from the Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Yeah. Good stuff there. So I'll have to catch up on that, and then I'm sure. What is it? The All-Star game is that tonight, John? Then for baseball.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where our boy Jeff Kerr is. For those wondering, where was Jeff Kerr on a Monday edition?
Yeah, well, I still don't know. What do you have to be down there at 8:20 in the morning? I mean, what are we doing? I've been at Super Bowls. I don't go at 8:20 in the morning. You know, what are we doing?
Yeah, well, Jeff wanted to take in the atmosphere, John. I don't know. We'll have to have Jeff answer for that on the show when he joins us, maybe next week or later in the week. I'm not sure when that will be. So we'll do that. John, we do have a great show planned today for everybody. Got 2 good guests. Scott Grayson, somebody we haven't talked to in a little bit, but I do love Scott Grayson, and I can't wait to talk to him. So we'll get his kind of take on the offseason. Les Bowen in hour number 2, who always gives a good take. You know, I like Les because he doesn't see things always through the most positive lens. And I don't mean he sees it through a negative lens. I just mean that he'll call out very quickly where he thinks things are going wrong or they haven't done a good job. So I'm curious to hear what Les has to say about this offseason as well.
Yeah, well, good for Les, man. I appreciate that. You know, people kill me all the time. Well, it's funny, you know, you have 2 groups, people who think I carry the Eagles water and people think that I'm too hard on them. So, you know, I'm like bipolar. Evidently.
Well, that's like you always say, John. Isn't that like a sign you're doing a good job?
Exactly. Exactly. But you know, the list became a big thing, as it always is, the list, because it's, you know, it's the biggest list. It's the quarterback position. It's Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. So everybody's losing their mind. Predictable. I put my top 10, which we did on the air live, which obviously he was not in it. And I say obviously because he didn't deserve to be in it. But one of the things with these lists, which I always say with our own list from Eagles on SI, I think it's important to define what you're doing. And you know, by the way, to ESPN's credit, they do. So, you know, I'm seeing this. This is the news around the NFL all over the place, and everybody's talking about Jalen Hurts. And they go to 2022 and 2023 and 20, you know, outplay in the Super Bowl season, outplaying Patrick Mahomes, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to read you the definition, Zander. They explained more than 70 voters submitted a ballot, at least one position, yada. That's not important. This is the important part. This was not a 5-year projection or a career achievement award, but meant to answer a simple question. Who are the best players right now? So, I mean, all these people screaming and yelling. You're arguing a completely different. I always say, if you're debating people, never accept their stupid premises. So the minute you mention 2022, get out of the conversation. We're talking about right now. This is a snapshot entering the 2026 season. If you're talking about 2024, get out. Now, if you have some relevant cases, and I think 17 is too low, but I don't think it's abhorrently low. I'd have them at 14, 15 coming off last season. Right in the middle of the pack. Like, I mean, use Jake Elliott as the example. Because obviously it's not a valued position.
It's a great example, though.
It's not, people don't care about kickers that much. They certainly don't inspire loyalty. Jake Elliott was a second-team All-Pro in 2023. He was arguably the best kicker in football, or the second best, as second-team All-Pro would say. He stinks now. Now I'm being harsh. He doesn't stink, but you get the point. Everybody.
Your point is he stunk, and that would change where he ranks in the kickers amongst the league right now.
Yeah. I mean, why is this so hard other than the blind loyalty? Like, he didn't play great last year. Doesn't mean he can't recover. Hopefully he can from a fan standpoint. Doesn't mean he hasn't performed in the past. Certainly has. But if you're being fair and you're reading that definition and you're being terribly optimistic, how high could you possibly go?
I'm more with you. I think right in the middle there. I have no problem with where it was yesterday. But look, I think Jalen has the ability to answer, and he will. Everything will be out in front of him to answer that. And for all the people who are maybe upset by the list, that's perfectly fine if that's the way you want to go about it. But Jalen's got it. Jalen can correct it himself. He doesn't need all of the Jalenites or the Jalen haters to set the narrative. He can go and set the narrative himself. Go and be the elite player that everybody professes that you are. That's how I see it. So I think he has a chance to do that this year, John. He will have to go and do that. How about this, John? I read this piece, and I'm gonna take this from our buddy Dave Zangaro over at NBC. And he wrote out his three biggest how did he word it? The three biggest concerns about the Eagles entering the 2026 season. Where would Jalen Hurts rank on that? Maybe he wouldn't be in the top 3, but where would he rank on your list of concerns coming into the year for the Eagles?
Pretty high, because one, it's very similar because he's the most important player on the field for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, I mean, I always say it's like the most important list. Well, that to me is the easiest list, because, all right, one is the quarterback.
Right.
That's just so. If you have concerns over the quarterback, it's going to be really, really high on your list. Because you can't win in this league. You can win with competent quarterback play, but you can't win with bad quarterback play. And by no means do I think he's going to give the Eagles bad quarterback play. So it's not, I'm not sitting here wringing my hands and saying the Eagles don't have a chance. I think they're a significant Super Bowl contender, but he's got to play a hell of a lot better than he's played Really, for 2 calendar years.
Would he be in the top 3 of your concerns? I mean, just listening to everything you've discussed this summer, I wouldn't guess that he would be in your top 3. Now, I'm not going to speak for you.
Well, he
But
is only because of the position. Like so again, everything is definitions. So if you're saying as a player, as an individual player, I have concerns over many more individual players. Wouldn't be in my top 3. But for this team to get where they want to go, he's got to perform at a high level. So if you're talking about the importance of him versus Jake Elliott again, well, it's wildly weighted towards Jalen Hurts. So as an individual, I'm much more concerned about Jake Elliott. But overall, the quarterback is such a weighty part of this that he becomes a bigger focus. And if he plays like he did last year, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be terrible, but it's not going to be great.
yeah, I would agree with that. He's got to elevate this year. He's got to rise the tide, John, of everybody around. That's what elite quarterbacks do, in my opinion. You know, you got to raise the ship. You got to rising tide lifts all boats. I think Jalen needs to do a little bit of that this year. John, I'm reading, and so I'll read you what Dave's top 3 concerns were. Jalen Hurts was not in his top 3. Number 1, and I thought, John, that you would have the same. Not for number 1, the health of the offensive line. That was the number 1 concern that Dave listed. I think that's pretty fair. And I think many people would probably be in that boat as well. Number 2 was, what if Sean Mannion doesn't work? I think that's pretty fair considering he's never called an NFL play and obviously coming into a team with great expectations. And then number 3, replacing Nakobe Dean and Reed Blankenship. So 2 losses there on the defense. So I think those are 3 pretty fair concerns. I didn't think you would take 3 because you're obviously pretty confident in the player that Jahad Campbell is. Reed is obviously a loss, but I think in Vic's defense with the amount of secondary players that they do have, Cooper, Quinion, and even I'm blanking on it. What's the new guy? Tariq Woolen.
Reek
Reek Woolen. So I think they're in a good shape there. But what do you think of those 3?
Yeah, well, I didn't say the offensive line is number 1 for me. I've said that pretty consistently.
Yeah, you've said that.
You were talking about top 3. It's all offense, and probably the other ones are Jalen and Sean. But and again, Jalen is more of an emphasis because he's the one on the field. He's the one who's got to perform. Sean is. You can help Sean. They've already helped Sean. They brought in, Josh Grisard. They brought in Jared Johnson. They brought in, and they already have Nick Sirianni. So I mean, he's got a lot of help around him. And Nick is, part of his job is to coach the coaches, and part of his job is to make things easier for Sean Mannion. So, Jalen's on his own out there. When that 15 seconds comes, he's got the pen to put the period on whatever it is. And he needs a lot of help from an execution standpoint and all that kind of, but that stems from which another philosophy I'll never waver from is, players over plays.
Right.
Players are the ones on the field doing it.
I'd have to throw wide receivers, John, in my concern list.
Well, that's a big concern as well.
Yeah,
and that speaks to, it's all offense basically for me. The defense is going to be good. It's just a matter of how good. The offense has a wide-ranging potential outcomes from below average to above average. Probably not elites, but above average. a wide range. Defensively, the only way they're going to have a bad season defensively is that if they suffer just incredible attrition. Because they're too good, they're too talented. Bick is too good at what he does. There's no avenues where you say, oh, this is going to be a problem. I mean, the best you can do is talk about safety, which is legitimate, but again, look at any defense. Look at Denver. Whoever you think is the other group of defense. Look at Denver. Look at Houston. Look at Minnesota. Look at the top 5 perceived defenses. They all have holes. Can't have everything. And the Eagles are as close as you can get to having everything. And Howie will still try to get everything. He'll still try to get a safety. I'm pretty sure of that. So it looks, and that's why we spend most of our time talking about the offense, because it looks so good on defense. You can't say the same thing with the offense. Could be good. Offensive line stays healthy. Saquon has a bounce back season. Jalen plays more efficiently. McMullen's a good player. Could be really good. Sean Mannion takes to it, is a natural. But that's a lot of stuff to go right. Coming off a season where a lot of the same parts went wrong. So there's a wide range of outcomes, I would say, on the offensive side.
Yep, I agree with that, Johnny Mac. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out this year. You can see Deshay in the chat. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. Deshay says, I think Zander still has AJ on his mind. Well, I didn't want to call out Eagle fans today, but I got to call out some of them.
Call them out.
I think the disdain and the hatred for AJ,
it's ridiculous. Number one,
but I think that's clouded their thinking on the objective truth about the receiver group. I don't care about AJ Brown, Deshay. I'm looking at the wide receiver group right now, and they struggled to pass the ball the last 2 years with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Now there's no AJ Brown, and they got a rookie. They got Dontavian Wicks. And they got Mekhi Lemon to try and piece together a replacement, for those top 2 receivers. Now, Devontae's obviously, I have a lot of confidence in him, but I think it's pretty fair to want to wait and see on that. I don't think that makes you, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, Deshay. So it is what it is. But we got Scott Grayson, John, in the green room. I'm curious to see what he thinks of this offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go to him right now. Scott Grayson joins us here on Birds 365. You can follow him at S. Grayson, Fox 29. Scott, welcome to the program. How you doing on this Tuesday in July, my friend?
Yeah, good to see you guys. I guess football season's coming fast.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming. We'll get you in it. You're busy too at the All-Star game. Great atmosphere there. So we just ripped the fans. Let's give them some credit. That was pretty phenomenal. Just the atmosphere.
Yeah, I was there last night for the home run derby, and I got to tell you, I love Philly fans. Booing the people in the outfield when they didn't catch the balls. The kids,
the poor kids, man.
Look, I'm fine with it because they equally gave them pretty loud cheers when they caught them. So I thought it was, it was part of the atmosphere, and booing on every miss with the guy, with Walker against Schwarber. The atmosphere was great, man. That was, I've seen a lot, as have you, John, in your career. I had not been to a home run derby in person. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I always say, baseball tends to be, if you go to other cities, it's, it's a more laid back game. It's a more laid back crowd generally than football. And that's Philadelphia to me. Everything's football, man. Everything's football, and everything's live and die. And they're going to get on to people. I do say, take it easy on the kids. That's the only thing I'll say, but feel free to boo. Juan Soto, everybody who's not wearing a Phillies uniform.
And I don't know if they showed it on TV, but Brandon Graham was there, Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
Of course, Big Dom's making his presence felt.
Of course.
So there was definitely some Eagles influence there, sitting on those couches watching.
Yeah, and guys are trickling into town because we're 2 weeks away from reporting day, Scott, and things will shift more towards where they normally are, and that's the Eagles. But we're an Eagles show, so we have to talk Eagles. We haven't talked to you in a while. Good to see you, number one.
Mhm.
But it's been quite the off season, and we were just talking about some of our biggest concerns. So I don't want to muddy the waters when you're coming off of last season, the changes. What are you saying? Oh, I need to see this before I feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think we all just need to kind of see what this offense is going to look like. Yeah, I mean that's where I think everybody starts, right? So we might as well start there. And we go to those mini camps, John. We go to, I know I saw you there at them. We don't get to see a whole lot, but we get to see some. They don't have pads on. It's hard to judge a lot. However, I'm sure you've kind of taken this away too, but one of the big takeaways I took from it was just how much work they were doing with Jalen, operating under center.
Yeah.
To me, it was every opportunity they could get to rep the footwork that goes along with it, right? To do the things that he needs to do and be able to get used to dropping back with his eyes downfield, not worry about his feet, just get second nature stuff, right? That I was watching. I was watching some of the offensive line work. Obviously, I think that is a big story. Is no Jeff Stoutland, but how is it going to work with that change, and how does the line feel about it? And what we heard from the guys was, they seem like they're embracing the change. At least they're open to all the new things that are being
They're
taught
pretty
them. And
excited. Lane wants some
yeah,
help. He's thrilled. He's
yeah,
thrilled.
you wonder just for those older guys, how much will that help maybe take some of the wear and tear that he deals with for 50, 60 snaps in a game, week in, week out. What will that do, long term for somebody like him? I think there's a lot of things that are going to be fun to watch as far as how they develop and how they build towards what will ultimately be this offense. But what are we able to take away from that? Those are some of the things I took away from the limited view we got during minicamp.
Scott, what's your sense of confidence coming into this season? It feels like almost the last 4 or 5 years, Scott, we've just been like, Eagles are one of the best teams in football. Before we even saw them play, I think it was Howie because of what they've accomplished. Do you still have that feeling at this point in the offseason as we're 2 weeks out here from the start of training camp on the 2026 Eagles?
Yeah, I'm still optimistic on this group. I think, look, you still have the weapons on offense. I think clearly all of us know, I can say without a doubt, they did not play up to their potential at all on offense last year. And we can all get into the reasons why. It doesn't matter. The bottom line was they didn't. Now, all those guys know they got to come back and play better. I like the move of not giving, Jalen his extension, make him go out and earn it. And I think that will fuel him throughout the season, whether it puts a chip on his shoulder, however he takes it, it doesn't matter. Same thing, like, look what happened, not to bring it back to baseball, but, Dave Dombrowski told Bryce, said Bryce Harper was not elite. Well, he's just became an all-star and was participating in the home run derby. And I think he's having a close to whether you call it elite or not, it's pretty close, good enough. Will that kind of same response be what Jalen goes out there and plays with? I think, people are considering Saquon Barkley a bit of an afterthought. No, I'm not saying he's going to go rush for 2,000 yards, but he's going to do better than he did last year. How can he not? And as long as they're doing those things, I do like the tools in this receiver room. I know you were talking about that when I popped on. I like the different things they can do, but the biggest question to me is, will Jalen feel comfortable enough throwing the ball over the middle of the field? Because if they don't use that part of the field, it just becomes so much easier to defend what this team can do. If he does, it opens up a lot more. So again, we all talk about it now. September's the new preseason.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to get through September and then reevaluate a lot of these same questions, right? I think we can have a much better discussion with what we've seen through those first 4 games or so.
You mentioned Jalen's contract. The other Jalen on the other side of the
Yeah.
football is also eligible for an extension. The Eagles are taking that same approach as well. Typically, Scott, their history is if they believe in a guy and there are no questions, they're going to be proactive and they're going to extend them early. So to your point, and I think it's a good one with Dave Dombrowski, and because that was crazy, saying he's not elite. Just it's something you don't see often, and he's taking it well, and it can go in a positive direction, but it can also go in a negative direction. And guys can take it as a slight. How concerned are you? Because you have multiple pieces, not just Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Carter. Other guys, there's some other extension eligible players, but lesser on the totem pole. Those are the two main ones. And the bottom line is they see their agents, Drew Rosenhaus, Nicole Lynn, high profile people. Nicole's been through it already. They were very proactive with Jalen Hurts on the first extension. So they know how the Eagles act. And all of a sudden, they're not acting that way. Do actions speak louder than words?
I think we all like to try to read in between the lines and see what they're saying there. Let me start with Jalen Carter, which is where you started. He's an interesting one. And it just makes me wonder if they aren't sure he's matured enough yet to handle what a big contract could do to you, right? It changes lives. And we know his history. We know what he's been through. Doesn't mean that, people change. People do grow up. I think he's a good example of a show me, and go out and prove it kind of thing. It's hard to forget last year, the whole season started with him not even taking a snap before he got ejected. And there's the maturity. There's the, I don't like to give credit to Dak Prescott for much, but I thought, hey, man, he got inside his head and got one of the Eagles' best defenders off the field. Good for you. Jalen Carter's got to be better than that. He's got to be more mature. Has he grown up enough? And what would a contract like that do to him? He's one of those guys that he can bring you a lot. He can do a lot for a team on the field. I love his talent. And I love what he does. He seems like a guy who has a lot of fun in the locker room. But it's, can he make the right choices on and off the field, particularly off the field, that can allow this team to build and move forward? And I have no problem with them taking this, let's go have a year, go do what you got to do, force us to make this deal. And I think somewhere they got to get that conveyed to Drew Rosenhaus, and he's got to convey that to his client. As far as Jalen Hurts goes, you're right. Things are different. But, and this is one of the ways I want to give Howie Roseman credit through the years. He does evolve. He does change. He is not one of those guys who's like, look, we did this cookie cutter formula I have will apply in 2017 and 2022 and 2024 and 2026. And we're going to get back to the Super Bowl because we follow this cookie cutter formula. No, you've got to evolve. And if you evolve, you can generally grow. You might also fall back, but this is a different approach. Does that mean it's the wrong approach? I don't think it is. I think they're saying we want an offense we really believe in and we can trust. And they're buying in. They're all in. I remember we were standing there and Jordan Mailata called, Sean Mannion a wizard. Well, okay.
Evil genius. He called.
Yes.
Why is he
right.
evil? I started Jordan off to the side. Why is he evil? Why evil?
Yeah, play the villain. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But if that's true, then he should be able to make Jalen Hurts do things we haven't quite seen yet. And if he does, pay the man. He's got the leadership, but there's a lot of intangibles that maybe some people don't like. I do. I love the way Jalen carries himself. I think he's easy to follow in terms of leadership for most of the guys. I think Howie's approach so far, I totally support it. I will be curious to see if, and I'm curious, John, for your thoughts too. Do you expect Jalen Carter to hold out a little bit early on?
Maybe a hold in, the infamous hold in.
Mhm.
He's under contract through 2027, so he doesn't have a lot of leverage. About the only leverage he could impart Drew Rosenhaus is requesting a trade. He's got to play for the Eagles. He's not going to sit out. So, but he might show up to camp with a ankle injury and won't practice for a week or two, try to get things done, try to say, hey, we're serious. But eventually he's going to have to. But the problem is, Scott, with the new CBA, not that it's new anymore. In the old days, you could hold out, and then at the end, you make up and they waive the fines. Now you're not allowed to waive the fines. So you're suffering significant financial hits, and you can't waive them when you make up and sign the new deals. So what players have begun doing is the hold in, where they show up, but they're saying, yeah, I'm not going to practice though. So
Well, that's kind of what he did at minicamp.
yeah, exactly. So you might see a little bit of an extension to that, but long term, I mean, there's not much he can do other than play for the Eagles and use it as fuel, to your point with Jalen Hurts, chip on your shoulder, whatever, go prove it. And then the Eagles will have to pay the tax on the back end. If you do,
Right.
then they have to pay sort of, I call it the Jerry Jones tax. You wait, you have to pay more. So it's a give and take, but Jalen Carter can go earn it. No doubt about that. And ultimately that's what he's going to have to do. Or agree to probably less money than they had hoped when they started this process. And you thought, well, yeah, they're going to set the market with Jalen Carter. Well, they don't want to go above Jeffrey Simmons or maybe even Chris Jones. So,
And
I'm
it is
not
interesting
sure
that they paid Jordan Davis first.
Well, they had to pay him first. He's a year ahead. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Carter wasn't eligible for an extension until after last season. So, they're a year ahead. So that's just a timing thing. But the Eagles did a similar thing. They didn't extend Jordan Davis early because there were a lot of questions. And he took it in a positive way, and he went and proved it, and he got his big money deal. So I imagine you have to spin it to Jalen Carter that way, and I imagine they have. But it is going to be something interesting to watch because, as you know, being in the locker room all the time, Scott, Jalen Carter's a really nice guy. He really is.
Yeah.
Very polite. I think he's very misunderstood, but he's not the natural leader that Jordan Davis is. Like, Jordan Davis is become one of the guys. He's one of the defensive leaders, one of the faces of the franchise now, to be honest, from a leadership perspective. So there's a little bit of a difference that way. But man, that guy's talented, Jalen Carter. It's just he's probably the most gifted player on the Eagles for his position. So it is a really difficult conversation, as they all are. No more difficult conversation, Scott Grayson, than the quarterback, as we'd love to. But the list came out this week, and I call it the list because it's ESPN's top 10. Jeremy Fowler. He polls 70 different scouts and executives and coaches, and they come up with the best players at every position. Now, I hate lists. We all have to do them in this industry, Scott. Unfortunately, I have to do them. But one of my pet peeves is people don't define their lists.
Great point.
Yeah. Now, ESPN did. And I'm going to read you the definition. This was not a 5-year projection or a career achievement award, but meant to answer a simple question. Who are the best players right now?
Okay.
So, I online yesterday, you saw all these shows all across the country. I saw Max Kellerman saying, well, Jalen Hurts, he did this in 2022. All right. You didn't read the definition. So understanding that definition, Scott Grayson, how high could you possibly go on Jalen Hurts? Because I think 17 is harsh, but I don't think it's that harsh. Just coming off last season.
Yeah. I would put him probably a couple of slots higher, but I think we're in the right neighborhood, right? For the definition that you gave. And you got to kind of, everybody's going to look into that the same way or differently, right?
Oh, yeah.
To me, I'm going to say, okay, well, what makes up the guy this year is a little bit of what his experience. Does this guy have experience? Some of these guys that are higher than him, and I'm trying to remember the list, but I assume a Drake May is higher than him.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, well, some of these guys second year, they go through that sophomore slump. I mean, how many times we were How many guys have been young over the league that we're like, oh, they're coming off a great season. They're going to go and get even better. When, in fact, defensive coordinators with an offseason find ways to confuse them more, and we don't see them find that success. So, in terms of where I think Jalen Hurts is, I think I agree with you. 17, harsh was a good word, but I think we're not far off from the neighborhood he probably belongs in because we don't know how he's going to do in this offense. We don't know if he's going to go back to using his legs a little bit more or whether those days are gone. We don't know if he's going to throw over the middle. We don't know if he's going to try to give his receivers more opportunities to make plays or focus so much on not turning it over that they don't take many risks. So, with all those unknowns, I have to assume that they're not going to all be yeses. So, I have to put him in a place where, you know what? Go start here. And if we do the same list halfway through the season, has he moved into the top 10? Yeah, I think there's potential for that. But I'm okay with I agree with you on so many times like Chris Sims or all those guys do these lists and it's like, okay, well, you're right. You're not defining what you're using to make the list. And I think when you say going into this year, this quarterback this year right now, I just think we have so many questions that you can't go say he's automatically a top 10 quarterback. I think
Scott,
he's right around 15 or so is in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Scott, do you have fears that he's on the down slope?
It's a good question. No, I don't. Just because he's such a competitor, the guy can't stand to lose. So he's going to find ways to win. And he will ultimately, I think, do what it takes to win. And if that's to do what he has to do in this offense, I think he's going to get there. Do I think he's on the way down? Again, I would love to answer that question after this year because to me, what makes him potentially a top 10 quarterback is the threat that he has with his legs.
Right.
I don't need him to run 20 times a game, but I need him to flash that 5 to 7 times a game here and there. And it could even be some design stuff just to show the defense he still has that. Does it have to be RPO? No, it doesn't have to be RPO, but get him out of the pocket, let him use his legs, even to extend the play a little bit. To me, if he's doing that, that's where he can be at his best. If he starts becoming this quote pocket quarterback or trying to be or going back to that's one of the things Donovan McNabb, we all know he had to show he could play out of the pocket. Well, that's not playing up to your complete strengths in my mind. So is Jalen on the way down? I don't think he's on the way down unless he stops using some of the skills and the talent that make him the quarterback that has been successful. Again, he doesn't have to do it as much as he did before, but he's got to at least still show that threat in my mind.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Scott, because that takes us into another big question mark, and that's Sean Mannion coming in as a first-time offensive coordinator, first-time play caller, 3 years basically off the field as a player, only has 2 years of experience as a coach, and that was sort of entry level, and then 1 year as the quarterbacks coach in Green Bay. This is strange from the standpoint of, look, Nick Sirianni said he almost hired, but he interviewed 17 different assistants to potentially be the Eagles offensive coordinator.
We're losing J-Mac, Scott. Let me see if I can get him back up here. It's not you. It's his internet.
Yeah, at first I thought it was me. No problem.
No, you're good. You're good. It's Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac's disconnecting right now. So I'll try and get him back up, and then I'll get.
I got the gist of his question.
Go ahead.
About Sean Mannion and about how weird this is, right? And so I'll take it with where I think he was going. It is weird. Not only did they hire Sean Mannion to be the offensive coordinator, they hired 2 other guys that they interviewed for that job, and they accepted to join the staff. I think all of that is weird, right? Doesn't mean it's bad. Weird can sometimes have a negative connotation to it. I don't think that. It's interesting. It's different. And yes, a little weird. But I think with Sean Mannion, you do. Again, we talked earlier about Howie Roseman and his evolution. I think part of where the league is starting to go is trying to identify the young guys who may be these evil geniuses or wizards.
Right.
Because if you get them early, you then can kind of help guide or control where they go from there. The weird part of all this is if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm looking at this and going, okay, if this offense thrives, Sean Mannion's going to get the credit for it, as will the players who had to play and execute his game plans. But if it's a thriving offense, Sean Mannion's going to get job opportunities to be a head coach. Everybody's going to want to tap into that and say,
Yep.
bring that here. What does that mean for Nick Sirianni? Because the Eagles aren't going to want to let him go if he's that, quote, good. I wonder, I'm not saying Nick Sirianni's on a hot seat. I'm not saying his job is threatened. I'm just saying, what if? What if all that happens, this offense thrives, and they're at risk of losing Sean Mannion? What do Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman do?
Be interesting to say.
Yeah. And so I think when you look at that and you try to figure it out, it's an interesting concept because if you're Nick Sirianni, you don't want to deal with that, but you also don't want an offense that stinks. You don't want to wish that this offense doesn't succeed because then you don't succeed. If this team goes on and gets to another Super Bowl because it's working that well, you got to give some of the credit to Nick Sirianni again for guiding yet another team to a Super Bowl appearance. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch all that play out and to watch all that in as the season ends and those job interviews come in and what happens to Sean Mannion. But I think this is my suspicion. I think they brought on those two other candidates that now have jobs on this offense so that if they lose Sean Mannion, they have been learning his system and one of them will slide into that role. That's what I'm suspecting from this, quote, weird off-season change.
Yeah, well, Scott, maybe John, I'm not sure what you heard there of Scott's response to what you were saying. You cut out a little bit mid-question, but he did have a pretty good response.
I can't hear you, Zander.
Yeah, the joys of streaming. Can you hear me,
yes,
Scott?
I can hear you.
The joys of streaming. I never know if my internet shitted or somebody else. You never know. So, but I've had a good run, and all of a sudden, yeah, everything went haywire. So hopefully,
you talked about the evil genius, and he found a way to shut you down.
Howie's listening. Howie, if you're listening, don't screw with my internet. But we'll get back. Yeah, I was talking about just the unique nature, and you gave the answer. You probably gave the answer. They came into this process wanting experience, wanting a veteran play calling, wanting Mike McDaniel, Brian Daboll, couldn't get him for different reasons. And they end up with a guy with less experience than Kevin Patullo. It's interesting. It's bold. And if they believe in the guy, you believe in the guy. And if he is an evil genius, he is an evil. He's not a very nice guy. That's what I was joking about with Jordan Mailata. If he is
evil
a genius,
defenses.
Yeah, he is a genius, and maybe he is a natural. But I do think, boy, you mentioned September's the new preseason, Scott. You would think, in general, just from that perspective, there's usually growing pains when you have a good team with a veteran coach, just everybody sort of learning on the fly. You would think a first timer would have some growing pains. Boy, if it starts ugly, how quickly the people start throwing the barbs and getting out the torches and the pitchforks?
That's a good question because I think it's such a long season now, and I don't know how much fans have really gotten that yet. And we talk all the time about September being the new preseason. I think year after year, people are starting to understand that, but it works both ways. I mean, look at the Eagles' first couple opponents. If we start right out of the gate with the Commanders, they have no idea what this offense is going to do, what it's going to look like, what this offensive line scheming for blocking is even going to look like. There's a lot that these first couple opponents are going to have to look at and try to figure out. In the old game of chess that this is, what are they doing? How are they doing it? And what do we do against it? But that comes down to, well, how well will the Eagles execute it? to your point, if it comes out not looking well, it's probably because they're not executing it well. Jalen's not reading things well. He's not making the passes well. The offensive line hasn't bought in or gotten this blocking scheme down well enough, and Saquon's being dropped again in the backfield. There's a lot. It is an interesting season. I think September is going to be wildly fascinating. It could go great. It could be ugly. It could go good here, bad there, good here, bad until they sputter and find their way or don't. It is very interesting to see how it's all going to shake out from an offensive side. And as much as we're going to try to find answers, as much as we're going to try to see things during training camp, they're not going to show it. Even in those joint practices, I think is going to be,
while
they're
showing
interesting,
anything,
they're not
Scott.
going to show much there either. Yeah. So you ask yourself, well, when is this offense going to get the chance to truly rep what they're trying to do? And it's not going to be till September, and it's going to be interesting to watch. I would not be surprised if they go out to a 2-2 start, and everybody's kind of like, okay, what's going on here? What's up? But I could be wrong. They could end up finding a way and striking lightning and going 4-0. Who knows?
Yeah, Scott, can you hear me now? Do you got me? No, Scott doesn't have me, John. You're gonna have to listen.
I got you both. All right. That's S. Grayson, Fox 29. Make sure you follow Scott on the X platform. Does a tremendous job. I assume you're going to be down at the All-Star game tonight. Is that correct? So you're probably racing off.
I'll
enjoy
be down
it
there later.
It's pretty cool. I mean, Philadelphia's had the World Cup, the All-Star game, obviously 250th birthday, so it makes a lot of sense that so much of this stuff has been in Philadelphia, but I think the city has shown out and shown out very well and has looked very well in the process. Hopefully that continues as we get to training camp. I'll end it here with you, and that's we don't talk about the defense because we all know the defense is good. And we all know the defense is going to be good, Scott. If there's anything you can look at on that side of the football that you're concerned with, what is it?
I'm most concerned, I think, with the back end, just not knowing how that's going to operate. Love Cooper DeJean. He has been obviously playing at an all-pro level, as a nickel. And floating around and doing some things, but how will he do as a safety? It certainly sounds like he's going to play a lot back there. He has a great friend he can lean on for support and advice in Reed Blankenship, but he's no longer here. I loved the way that Reed operated back there. I loved his leadership. I loved, rarely did he misplay things, and you kind of got used to that. That's where I'm kind of wondering if something breaks down in front of them, how are those safeties going to respond, including Cooper, to fixing or flushing or filling a hole that may creep up in the passing game. That to me is going to be the most interesting thing to watch. Obviously, that's kind of where things are different, where some newer players have been added along the corners and the safeties. You want to see Quignon once again be a lockdown guy. I think Vic has a great asset in his favor there. And I want to know that and believe that Cooper's going to be fine out there. If as much as we know the guy and know how hard he works, I think he will. But it's still a different, unit, different roles. And I think to me, that's where, I'm going to be looking to see how that does meshing with everything up in front of it.
All right, Scott, well done. Good to talk to you. We'll be tapping into your knowledge throughout the season. Hope you enjoy the All-Star game and make sure you tune in to Scott on Fox 29. Does a tremendous job, and see you soon, bud.
Yeah, I'll see you down there at the Jefferson Health Complex soon enough.
Yeah, I gotta catch myself. Jefferson Health Training Complex.
I see. Even I didn't get it right.
Yeah, there you go. All right, thanks, Scott.
All right, see you guys.
All right, there's Scott Grayson joining us here on Fox 29. John, I don't know what's going on here. I've never had that happen where you can hear me.
Yeah, I hear you fine.
I don't know. Can everybody hear me in the chat? Am I there? I don't know what's going on. So that was a little weird because when you dropped off, Scott could hear me perfect, and then you came back and Scott couldn't hear me. So I don't know. Sometimes,
when I dropped off, I'm like, am I? Because you guys froze on me, but I was taught and I was up. It's like there's got to be. Come on, StreamYard. You got to alert us to what the problem is. Like, I don't know if it's me, it's you, it's him. I don't know. But we got through it. It's a good talk to get from Scott, who does a great job. And I think you see the open-mindedness. When I explain the definition of the list, it clarifies it. You can't. Nobody's talking about a lifetime achievement. Nobody's talking about nostalgia. We're talking about right now a snapshot entering the 2026 season. And by the way, Zander, the alt-ball linebackers are out today.
Ooh, from Fowler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Zach Bond, number 4. And I think he's a little low. Number 1, no surprise, Fred Warner. Number 2, no surprise, Roquan Smith, who personally I think is slightly overrated. I think Zach's a better player, more well-rounded. Number 3 bothers me, Carson Schlesinger. There's no way. Like, great rookie season. No way he's better than Zach Bond right now. Jack Campbell's number 5. He's probably a little bit low. Azeez Al-Shaair from Houston, number 6, very good player. Jordan Brooks, very good player. Nick Bolton, Edgerrin Cooper, Devin Lloyd. Those are the top 10. Then you had Quay Walker, Demarion Overshone, Patrick Queen, Demario Davis, honorable mention. Also receiving votes, Jahad Campbell. TJ Edwards in there. Nakobe Dean not in there. Interesting.
Jahad Campbell got a vote?
Correct. That dude's insanely talented, I'm telling you. These are NFL people. So there you have it.
That might have been an Eagles exec that draft that.
It's possible.
That put him in the draft room.
It's possible. But hey, was top 10 in PFF. So, I mean.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, we'll see what that. We'll see. All right, it's pretty good, John. Linebackers, everybody should feel good then about the linebacker situation in Philadelphia, as you've been saying.
Yeah.
All summer. But
here's the quote they got about Zach, and this is all very, very true. He's got lateral quickness, incredibly smart player. He's perfect for Vic's scheme, can play close to the line and get pressure, can play off the ball. Yeah, he's a perfect fit for that scheme.
I'm surprised Schlesinger came in at 3. I mean, I know
well, he's Kuechly reincarnated.
Yeah,
elite speed, athleticism, instincts, ball skills. That's what one guy said.
John, did you like Schlesinger coming out of the draft? Was it you who was talking about him to me before he got drafted, or no?
Yeah, I thought he had a chance to go in the first round from what people were telling me. He ended up going like 33, I think. Maybe the first pick in the second round. Yeah, he's a very good player. He had a tremendous year. Probably
only 23 years old.
Yeah. I just think that's but I to be fair, I didn't watch a ton of Cleveland Browns football, but that's high praise. He's Kuechly reincarnated. That's high praise. Because that guy. That's probably a little hyperbolic, I would say, but Roquan Smith, man, there's a reputation guy. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but he's a downhill player. He's an old school linebacker. Like if this were 1975, I'd say, yeah, go get me Roquan Smith. He's going to blow things up. But he's not great in coverage. He's not the best blitzer in the world. I just think he's, that's a reputation pick. And they fall. Like Jack Campbell should be ahead of him. Jack Campbell's a hell of a player. Al-Shaair maybe should be ahead of him.
Yeah, Texans, he's good too.
Yeah. Even Jordan Brooks, nobody knows about him because he's with the Dolphins. He's one of their few good players. So I'd have him to the bottom half of the top 10. Still a good player. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot to like about somebody who is great downhill and can blow shit up. But the position has changed. You gotta be more well-rounded to be in the top 5 for me. But that's all.
Yep, fair enough. All right, so the next list has come out. What of these lists have I
don't.
Did they do a interior offensive line one?
Yeah, they've done that. I don't know why they do it. The only thing left are wide receivers and safeties. I guess they've been rotating. I'm trying to figure out the theme of it. They seem to rotate offense, defense. Oh no, they don't even do that. So running backs were July 6th. Then it was cornerbacks. Then it was edge rushers. Then it was defensive tackles. Then it was tight ends. Then it was offensive tackles. Then it was interior offensive linemen. Then it was quarterbacks. Then it was all-ball linebackers. The only thing left is wide receivers and safeties. Interior offensive line, it's interesting. That's a weak position as a whole. So they combine the guards and the centers. Coming off last season, Landon and Cam were both mentioned, but just in the also receiving votes category. They weren't top 10 guys, as Dickerson certainly was. And they weren't even honorable mention guys. So, again, coming off last season. But the top guys were Tyler Smith from the Cowboys, which is that tracks. Quentin Nelson tracks. Creed Humphrey. Quinn Miners from Denver is very good. Joe Thuney, he's getting older, but still very good. Chris Lindstrom, Trey Smith, Tyler Linderbaum, Peter Skoronsky, Aaron Brewer. Those were the top 10. Honorable mentions, Gray Zabel, Tyler Booker from the Cowboys, Elston Jenkins, who's now with the Browns, Robert Hunt. Not the greatest position in the world. Guys are struggling to find interior offensive linemen. And that's why Tyler Steen's going to get paid a shitload.
He is. Yeah, he is.
In my opinion.
Well, we'll see what happens, John. The list are rolling out 2 weeks out from the start of training camp. I want to real quick go back to something Scott Grayson said, that he doesn't seem to be the only one with this line of thinking. Scott was talking about Jalen, and he said, Jalen Hurts, and he said, we'll see if Mannion can get Jalen to show us something that we've never seen from him before. And I don't know why that just creates such pause for me, John. Like, I'm not going to expect, if I have a cat, I'm not going to expect a cat to bark like a dog. Does that make sense? Like at what point do you stop expecting somebody to be, something that they're not? Does that give you pause? Is that just me? Should I have more of an open mind to what Jalen Hurts can become? Well, I don't know why that's so hard for me to think.
Well, I would say yes and no. I mean, I think I've said pretty consistently, I think it's silly to build an offense around the deficiencies of your quarterback. I don't know at any level that makes sense. I just go back to the Parcells mentality of, don't tell me what he can't do, tell me what he can do, and then build around that. So I don't, but I think there's also room to get better at your deficiencies. Like, I think if you're not trying to get better at things you're not comfortable with, you're probably not doing it right. So I think there's room for both, but I don't think you build the offense around something he's never done I think that's ridiculous, to be frank. You know, I mean, there are strengths and weaknesses to everything you do in the NFL. There's a give and take. Like for some reason, because the Eagles have been a gun team, a shotgun team for so long, the perception is that, oh, teams have caught up and you have to change to be under center. Um, you need the list of the under center teams that didn't play well. It's not, you know, defenses have been seeing under center far longer than they've been seeing shot. Everything is a give and take. And the take from Scott was also talking, as we all have, like we got to see the threat as a runner back in the offense. I think we all agree with that. Even the Jalenites, I think, would agree with that. Well, how do you put that back in the offense if you're playing under center? The occasional quarterback draw? What are you going to do? A sweep where you're going to get him killed? Where Saquon turns into the lead blocker? Quarterbacks who are meaningful disruptors in the run game play from the gun so they can threaten the back end and pull the football. That's the give. The take, if you're going under center, you don't have that. Now, the off-schedule stuff will still be there. You know, you drop back and you scramble and you pick up big chunks that way occasionally. But yeah, a lot of it doesn't make sense to me, which is, you know, I in a lot of ways, I don't believe it. As I've talked to Nick Sirianni in the offseason, and he's sort of hinted at, you know, well, we're not, you know, he said similar to when Kellen Moore got here, we'd be crazy not to do some of the stuff we've had success with. So my assumption is it's part political, part branding. Yeah, we're going to do this.
Completely abandon what Hurts has done, right? I mean,
maybe
it's more under center, but it can't be all.
Well, yeah, that's my thought ultimately, because the other part of that is dumb, and that just doesn't strike me as Philadelphia Eagles. They're not dumb. And then you have the group that says, well, he can do it. Okay. Well, he can do it. It's not a strategy because you like him. He can do it. Well, why was he so uncomfortable doing it? The answer to that is because he's never been asked to do it, but
why has he never been asked to do it? I think would be
because he's been a dynamic player that they want to take advantage of. And how you do that is you put him in the gun.
Yeah, right.
So it's going to be very interesting, but the strategy of what people perceive is going to happen doesn't make a lot of sense to me, which is why I believe it's not going to happen to the degree that people think it is. But they're certainly going to do it more. And there's nothing wrong with trying to get better at it. That part I agree with. In fact, you should be trying to get better at it, trying to get more comfortable doing it. But it is a very strange pivot, in my opinion. Like, if you want to make that pivot, okay. If you think that's the best way to win, okay. But then ultimately you got to get the personnel that fits it. And maybe that'll take a few years.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like then, Johnny Mac. It's going to be interesting to see this year. I'm excited for the season to start because I want a lot of these questions to answer. And Scott is right about the preseason thing. I mean, we're going to have to, by the end of September, I think we'll have a good idea. But even then, it can all change. The Eagles were, 4-0 after September last year, right? And Jalen Hurts was scrambling like a bat out of hell in those first 4 weeks. They won game 1, I think, because Jalen Hurts was scrambling so much.
Yeah. Well, and the scramble part will still be in play, maybe even more in play because he's uncomfortable. So, but when you talk about designed, like in the case of Saquon Barkley, there's a give and take. All right, offset, he doesn't have as many options. That's true. Under center, he has more options. So under center is probably better for him. But I mean, there's been plenty of. I mean, I go back to Adrian Peterson when people would say the same thing. Well, he's being limited from the quarterback being in the gun, which is true, but he made it work. One of the greatest pure runners of all time. I mean, you just, you're trying to help the quarterback. And, there's a give and take in all offensive schemes. And there will be some issues. Like you think about Hassan Reddick, like that's a sense of pride for all Eagles fans is them destroying the San Francisco 49ers in that NFC Championship game and Hassan Reddick just destroying Brock Purdy. How many people on this show? Now, you weren't doing the show. You were producing. Jody was doing the show. And how many times did I try to explain to people? That's their offense, man. Yeah, the tight end. They're gonna do hard play action. They're gonna roll the quarterback out and throw the football across the other side of the field. The tight end's got to chip, and if he doesn't chip, the ball better freaking come out because the edge rusher is going to be bearing down. That's part of it. That's not a mistake. How could you have a tight end blocking an edge rusher? Well, you're going to see because that's this offense. And no, they're not designed to hold up man-on-man blocking. They're designed to chip it, and the play is going to be open, and the ball is going to be out. But when it isn't, you got a guy with a torn elbow ligament, and your NFC Championship game hopes are over. There's no offense ever designed that doesn't have places where if you don't execute properly, things are going to blow up on you. But that's just the nature of it, right? You've seen this offense. The perception is that people have caught up to this offense, so you have to change the pendulum theory. And you swing back and forth. Right. And 4 years from now, you'll be swinging back the other way. Just the nature of it. But I've always been in the category of take advantage of the shelf life while you have the shelf life. And to me, that means playing the way you have played, but just re-adding the plus one aspect into the equation.
All right. Addition to what you've done successful. I don't think changing what you've done makes a lot of sense, honestly.
No. But they think I think they got hurt on the offensive line. A bunch of guys didn't play well. Not everybody said, "Oh, they caught up to the Eagles." If you're good, nobody's catching up to you.
Well, they're not as good. I mean, clearly that was a part of it too. So we'll see, Johnny Mack. It will be interesting, obviously, to see what happens with the Birds this year. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here on this Tuesday morning, exactly 2 weeks away, everybody, from the Eagles' start of training camp, where they will report. I guess, John, they report on the Tuesday, and then what? It's probably a day.
28th, yeah, Tuesday, first practice Wednesday. Yeah, we'll have to talk about our training camp schedule.
If you ever get it, probably get it like the 29th.
Yeah, well, it'll come out probably this week, would be my guess. Within 10 days, it would be my guess at the latest. But I got a tentative feel, and they're going to be practicing in the morning as typically. So typically, what we do is I check in. You do something in the morning.
Yeah, then we run one later.
And then we do a full show later. And then, and then the days off, we just have the normal time slot. But the days off, no idea yet, but
yeah, we'll try and figure all that out. We'll keep you all posted. When the Eagles are on the field, though, we will do something, even if it's a 24/7 weekends or whatever that looks like. So we'll have you covered morning, noon, and night for the Eagles training camp. That'll be 2 weeks out from now. So I'm looking forward to that. And John, what are you looking forward to this season? It's what, year 11 for you covering the Eagles? No, 10.
2016. So, well,
is it
2016 full time? So, but probably 2014. Occasionally.
Yeah, because you were in the area. But
yeah,
there's got to be some. I mean, are you getting tired of covering this team? Are you getting bored of covering this team?
No, it's never boring.
No, it's really not.
Football practice is boring. I mean, yeah, I think people think it's exciting, and if they go down there, it's just monotony and repetitions. Think about the word repetition. It's repetition. It's repetition. It's repetition. One of Nick's quotes that he's clung on to, which I love. It's actually Connor Barwin gave it to him. I'll give Connor credit. The burden of leadership is repetition. You just got to keep hammering home the same point over and over again. So it becomes second nature. So a lot of football is repetition. So, you're playing fast, you're not thinking, your natural instincts take over. So, yeah, so no, I don't get bored. I mean, I'm lucky that, cover the NFL. I mean, it's people's passion. So much so. Like all these, like baseball's having a great week in Philadelphia. I mean, but it's just not, people aren't as passionate about it as many people. Some people are, but as many people as football. Football's crazy, people love it. That's why the show exists.
Yeah, it's true.
We do the show all year round. Other sports, they shut down. Like nobody wants to talk about baseball in the off season, barring the hot stove league when some guys are signing and getting traded, but there's very little discussion, Yeah, when the Sixers get Jalen Brown, people are hyped up, but then it just recedes into the background quickly. Football, everybody's talking about football constantly. And when they're not, they're looking to talk. They're looking for information, even when there is no information. As you see with the lists, people want to talk about the NFL. We're very lucky in that aspect of it.
Yeah. Does recovering a team in a city like Philly make it better? or worse?
I
Like, for
think
example, you
better.
covered the Vikings, right? In Minnesota. You lived in Minnesota for a
Yeah,
little while.
I think it's better from the standpoint of, people are so passionate. I mean, there's certain Minnesota's the same way though. It different, the people are probably a little bit less aggressive, but
A good choice of word there, aggressive.
that they love their team though. There's some other markets that I get the feel that, the Rams might have the best team in football. Most of their home games are road games. Most of them, except when the Cardinals come in. They don't have a lot of, diehard fans. I mean, the Carolinas of the world, it's more of a college. It's been a college like environment in the Carolinas for years. So, um, there's little pockets where teams aren't as like Green Bay is the smallest market, but those people are nuts. Again, in a good way. A little bit less aggressive, but they love their stinking team.
Yeah, they do.
So there's a lot of teams, and the Eagles are near the top of that list. So as long as you're in one of those markets, it's pretty cool because people are interested.
No doubt about it. Good. It's like college football in the South. I see where Ashburton said people down there freaking love that crap. All right, Johnny Mac, good stuff. We're gonna have Les Bowen coming up in a little bit. Curious to see what Les Bowen has to say about this offseason.
The list.
Yeah, what will I think he'll be pretty fair. I think he'll probably agree with much of what was said in the list. And
I think list is going to go higher, but when I read less the definition, he might Scott Grayson it. He might change because under that definition, like if you're not, I get the legacy people. Like if you're adding in what Jalen Hurts has done, yeah, there's no way it should be 17. But that's why I say the definition matters. And that's why I used the Jake Elliott example. Jake Elliott was a second team All-Pro. Okay. What's that getting you to today? You want to blow him out, Zander Krause. You want Reese Bearhoff in here. It's the kicker they brought in for rookie tryout. They didn't sign him though.
I'm interested.
But if they do bring in a kicker, keep Reese Bearhoff in your mind. I don't think he's signed anywhere else, but I have to check that out. But yeah. So but quarterback's different, obviously. And people get upset when they insult the quarterback. A group of people. Some people are fair.
No doubt. All right, Johnny Mac, good stuff there. We'll see what Les says. He's coming up here in a little bit here on Birds 365. And then tomorrow we'll have Gil probably back in the saddle. BLG, maybe. I'm not sure if he's returned from vacation. This is the time of year that everybody is out vacationing.
Try to get it in. Trying to get it
going. So we'll see. That'll be interesting to see what everybody says. John, do you think Nick Sirianni's in the hot seat coming into this year? I don't, but everybody seems to think he is.
Not really. I mean, from the standpoint of if they win 4 games, yes. They're not going to win 4. I mean, they're good. I think, I know Howie loves working with Nick. So that's a big that's a big part of that's a good ally to have in the organization. There's only one bigger ally you could have. And I do think, look, if they have a terrible season, of course, everybody's on the clock. But I don't think he's one of the guys who is going to get fired in season or the guys who are in a tremendously hot seat. I think the Eagles understand and enjoy the setup and want it to continue. So I don't think that the seat is tremendously hot by any stretch of the imagination. But if this stuff blows up, it is. Look, already I think normalized it to a certain degree. I mean, if you come in, and Les is going to pop in here quickly. When we went into this process, the talk was you got to have experience at play caller coming off Kevin Patullo. And, that's where they were looking. They wanted Mike McDaniel. They wanted Brian Daboll. And they didn't get him for whatever reasons. And all of a sudden, they're interviewing 17 people, and they choose the guy with the least amount of experience because they liked him. So they shifted gears. And even though we haven't seen a day of Sean Mannion calling plays, we've to a certain extent already normalized. It's not normal. It's very weird to go from third string quarterback to entry level coach to quarterbacks coach because Tom Clements retired, and then you're an offensive coordinator calling plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. That is a meteoric rise in the NFL profession.
No doubt. Johnny Mac, good stuff. Let's get Les Bowen in here, joining us here on Birds 365. He joins us right now. You can follow him on X at Les Bowen. Les, great to talk to you here in the middle of July, my friend. How's your summer treating you and this Tuesday morning treating you?
I am doing just great, Zander. Thanks much for having me.
Good to see you, Les. Good to talk to you, as always. We were just talking about Sean Mannion. Have you surprised how this, I don't know how much you heard me say there, but it is, if you go back to where this started and how it was originally framed, and obviously things didn't work out with Kevin Patullo, who's a first-time play caller, but 15-year NFL coach. It was about, well, you got to have somebody with experience calling plays, and pie in the sky was Mike McDaniel and Brian Daboll and people like that. And they couldn't get them for whatever reason. And then all of a sudden they go into sort of Nick Sirianni mode when they hired him. They couldn't get the guys they wanted originally. They kept interviewing people, and they found a guy. I think the word Nick used was he revealed himself. Yeah. So I he's a very smart guy. Everybody seems to like him. But boy, Les, he was the third string quarterback.
Yeah.
2 years ago. And now he's calling plays for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, you mentioned Nick. That was my thing when they hired Nick and the people around him. I remember talking to you and others about this, 10 years earlier, those guys were fetching coffee for the real coaches, and it worked out all right, more or less. What they wanted, as what they wanted was this offense. And that's what really strikes me, is that they're willing to they were so frustrated by last season that they're willing to. Nick has never really given up control of the offense, in my view, over the time he's been here. It has been Nick's offense with various people tweaking it. That they're just going to throw all that in the trash. They threw Jeff Stoutland in the trash, which is the thing that astonishes me a lot more than Sean Mannion. They would have let Stoutland continue running a scheme that he had no background in, and
which, by the way, doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't. It's just they decided they had to have this, and it's, in a way, I sound like a hypocrite questioning it, because we all yelled all season about, why don't they go under center more? Why don't they use play action more? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? And now they're embracing all that stuff with a totally new, framework. But I'm not sure that I would have done it this way. But
No.
it'll be fascinating to see how it works out. There's so many permutations of this.
And well, that's what I keep trying to figure out, Les. And maybe I'm too cynical at this stage, but I don't believe they're completely throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Look, I mean, there are a bunch of things that, yes, under center gives Saquon Barkley more options to run. That's completely true. He's not offset. You can't guess which way the play is going to go. But guess what? There's positives to being in shotgun and offset, as you saw by the greatest run of Philadelphia Eagles football in modern history. And by the way, Saquon Barkley ran for 2,000 yards being offset in the shotgun more often than not.
Right. And, it seemed like, so they had a banged up offensive line last year that didn't block very well, and things went poorly. And I was reading something about Stoutland just recently, and it's like they sort of forgot that this all worked beautifully the year before, at least in the run game. It didn't work great in the passing game. But they didn't need to change a whole lot in their approach to the run game. They just needed people to be healthy. I mean, I think it's kind of nuts almost that they felt like they needed to retool their run game off of what happened last year after having the greatest year in the history of the NFL running the ball.
Now,
and winning the Super Bowl doing so.
I think you were still there. And I don't know if it sticks out in your mind, but it always sticks out in my mind. And, every year Nick does a session with the beat reporters and, for the beginning of training camp. In the one year, I don't know if you remember it, but it stuck out to me because he would always get the question about the play caller, the constant change. And this is and he would say, it was basically, it doesn't matter if it's Shane or Brian or Dom or Jeffrey Lurie or Howie Roseman, as long as I'm here, it's going to be my offense. Yeah. And he said that. And, I gave him.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I gave him, I give him credit for having the courage of his convictions. But, what happened? What happened to that? What happened to that guy?
Yeah. Well, Nick's not really in charge of the whole shooting match. I think for Jeffrey and Howie, last year was incredibly frustrating. I think they thought they were very well positioned to go back to the Super Bowl, and their offense kept them from doing that. Straight and simple, the ineffectiveness of their offense kept them from doing this. I feel, and I think you guys feel, it was rooted in the offensive line, really.
Right.
Yeah.
It was tremendously frustrating to watch, and they didn't want to watch it again. And in fairness, even though they won the Super Bowl the year before, it's not like this offense has been – the passing offense has been a concern here for probably 3 years now.
Right.
Yeah.
The last time it had a really good year. So they did need to figure out something there. It's a heck of a thing. It really is.
How much of this do you put on Jalen Hurts, Celeste? Because I do agree, like with what they were trying to do last year, the offensive line was clearly the biggest problem. But where my concern lies, and I'm going to try not to muddy the question here, but I just want you to hear what I have to say about it. Jalen didn't provide the answers I think the organization would want when the offensive line didn't hold up. That's not to say that the offensive line was good, but I think when you have an elite quarterback, you want him to be able to say, okay, that's not working, let's go to this. And I don't know that the Eagles ever felt as though they could do that. or if they did feel as though they could do it, it obviously didn't work out well. Their passing offense has been what it's been. Where do you kind of put Jalen Hurts in this mix, Les?
I wish I knew. I mean, he does certainly bear some responsibility for this. And John asked me on here after I made a sarcastic comment about the ESPN quarterback rankings yesterday. But that really gets at the heart of, I don't think the rankings were necessarily unfair because they're very year to year. Last year he was 9th after winning the Super Bowl, which might seem a little low for a guy who just won the Super Bowl and was MVP. But I think most of us understood. I probably last year at this time would have put him maybe 7th, something like that. He's not. You're talking about guys Zander that can change everything for you. He's not that guy. And the thing is, before people get too carried away with that, there's only 3 or 4 or maybe 5 of those guys in the league at a time. And the Eagles aren't going to have one of those guys that and I don't see them acquiring one anyway. The rest of the teams make it work. And there's a level right below that where you can have a very good quarterback who can win for you, who's not going to, he's not Joe Burrow. He's not going to make a horrible team competitive. But I don't know how much of it is. We're going to see, I think, this season, how much of it is going to be a problem with him and how much of it is the routes they were running, the offensive line being hurt, But the rankings, which John and I were discussing obliquely, was I just don't. Nothing against the ESPN or the rankings, but that's something you do in the middle of July when there's nothing going on. It's really, and like I said, there's these 3, 4, 5 guys that everybody agrees are, you could put a half decent team around any of them, and they're going to be very, very good. And the rest of the guys, if you look, I actually went back and looked at last year's rankings and the rankings the year before, and is Jaden Daniels in the top 5 this year? I don't think so. Or C.J. Stroud. A guy has a good year, a team has a good year, and he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And it's, I just don't. I think it's pretty fungible once you get past the very core group of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and a couple others. I don't even know. Lamar Jackson, had 2 humongous years before last year. Look at Lamar Jackson last season and tell me he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
I think I had him at 5 on my own, but that's sort of the line that you're talking about. You got the elite 4 that pretty much everybody, maybe they don't have them in the same order.
Right.
Like I had Burrow first. I think Stafford second coming off last season. Then Josh Allen, then Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes didn't have a good year last year.
No, and he got hurt too. Yeah. But here's the thing. I think the important thing, not that first of all, I hate lists. I hate them like a pat, but we all have to do them at some point. I think I always say it's important to define your list. Like, I saw Max Kellerman, for instance, not picking on Max, but he's talking about what Jalen Hurts did in 2022, which is, hey, look, if nostalgia is involved.
Right.
But ESPN and Fowler did define it. What they asked, and I'm going to read you the definition. This was not a 5-year projection or a career achievement award, but meant to answer a simple question. Who are the best players right now?
Yeah, I know. And Hurts and the Eagles offense had a bad year. I don't really put that as a definitive. The problem is people look at these rankings, particularly people who have an agenda, and look, this will tell you what the league really thinks of Jalen Hurts. Well, it tells you what the league thinks of him coming off of last season.
Exactly.
Coming off of the season before, the league thought something totally different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very. I always say this league moves very, very quickly, both ways. It's never, and I think so many people think that so and so is a great player and they're going to be a great player in perpetuity and everything's in a stasis. It's not. It moves very, very quickly. Guys have up years, guys have career years, guys have down years. Sometimes they are descending, sometimes they're ascending. And that's what makes it difficult. It's also what makes it fun as well. But as somebody who's been around this team for a very long time and knows Howie and Jeffrey better than most, there's a clear history that they're proactive with people they believe in. And when they have questions, they're going to wait. So the two Jalens, I'm expanding this not only from Jalen Hurts, who has just $22 million in guaranteed after this season. So look, if they won the Super Bowl again, trust me, he would have gotten an extension, a tweak.
Oh, yeah. There'd be no, but he has to, Hurts has to prove that he can run this offense, and it all has to work. I don't know if they have to win the Super Bowl, but and then they'll talk, at some point during the season, I would imagine if things are going well, they'll delve into this extension. I think it's a little, with contracts in the NFL, we've gotten so ahead of ourselves. I mean, he's guaranteed a ridiculous amount of money this year. There's he's not looking at any sort of insecurity for the coming season. If he should get hurt, he will take home as much money this season as anybody could ever spend in like 3 lifetimes. It's,
I don't know about that. When I hear Floyd Mayweather, people blow money. People blow this kind of money.
Well, I kind of don't know how Jalen is very
I digress.
Mayweather-ish. But
I don't think Jalen will be going.
No, I agree.
I'm just contract.
Just to the point that, they
unless Jalen thinks his contract is an issue, Jalen Hurts, unless he thinks his contract is an issue, I don't see any reason before October why you would even worry about that. You got plenty of other stuff to do, including Jalen Carter.
Remember, Howie's got this de facto weird policy now that if he thinks they're a Super Bowl contender, he doesn't want to.
He doesn't do it during the season. Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't agree with it, but
I think you put yourself in a hole. Nobody's going to be jealous of anybody if you give Jalen Hurts.
That's true.
If Jalen Hurts is playing well and you lock up Jalen Hurts, if there's a guy in that locker room who's offended by that, you need to get rid of that guy. Is my view. Maybe they need to look at that sort of thing a little bit.
Now, what about the other Jalen?
Well, that's a much tougher. I wouldn't do anything with him right now. I want to see him come to camp. I want to, you had a better idea than I did during spring work. Is he in shape? Is he?
Well, he was doing the hold in. He was doing the hold in. He wasn't doing anything. He showed up.
Yeah.
But well, he's done the Ben Simmons thing. He's put together, sort of some videos of him working out in South Jersey.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, he couldn't lift weights. He had so much pain in his shoulder. So,
with him, I really want to know how much of this has been the shoulders, because it was a very disappointing season, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's the shoulders and it's fixed, then sure, give him all the money in the world. But if there's more to it than that, then no. And that's their job to figure that out, I guess. I don't know, but I'm not in any hurry to get that resolved myself.
Yeah, he's under contract through 2027. There's not much he can do. I guess he could show up to camp and hold in again for a week or to send a message, but
you can always trade him if he doesn't want to be here,
Yeah. Well, that's the only leverage they have, really.
There are other great players.
Yeah. Drew Rosenhaus could request a trade, I guess. That's some leverage. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he shows up and is participating right away. That's a very good sign. But
yes,
we'll take a wait and see approach on that. The defense as a whole, Les, we don't talk about it much on this show because there's not much to talk about. They're just
not
good.
much to pick at. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some concerns at safety, but I mean, if you look at all the great defenses, Houston, Denver, the ones that people perceive to be in the same category, they have holes. Everybody,
Oh yeah,
you're never
nobody
perfect.
that has, the '85 Bears aren't coming back, or the 2001 Ravens. That's a different era. The one thing I saw during the spring work that I was really interested in is you guys got real excited about Rick Woolen, which I certainly understand.
Oh, yeah.
Physically, I mean, that's like the Terrell Owens of corners or something. He's like built like a robot, to play corner. But I don't know Rick Woolen at all. I wasn't around him during the spring work. I did watch the playoffs. And I saw him nearly end the Seahawks season.
I know.
With the stupidest, most egregious taunting penalty in the history of the NFL. And it's still, to me, how you end up doing that in that situation. And I think it had a lot to do with why he was available after the season. They won the Super Bowl eventually, but they almost lost the NFC Championship game because this guy wouldn't stop, taunting the other team's bench. Wow. I don't know. We'll see.
No, well, I think it's fair. I think, look, when somebody that gifted only gets a 1-year deal, you start asking questions, and the questions are obvious. You bring up some of them. He doesn't tackle well. He's not always the most focused. And you start to think about, well, that doesn't sound like a Vic Fangio player. But right. I got to tell you, Les, Vic is really excited to have him.
Well, good. Yeah, I certainly trust Vic. That's
but I will say, and this, I mean, off-season work, no pads. It's a glorified passing camp. This is where he would shine because he's 6'4" and he runs a 4.26 and he eats up ground like a big praying mantis in the middle of the field. When the pads come on and the lack of physicality shows up, it might look different. So I put all these asterisks on it, but you can only report on what you saw. And he was the spring MVP. I mean, he was awesome, but I don't know what that means. They're not playing flag football.
Right.
And
I think they have a good group there, and even if he turns out to be a little bit less than the greatest thing that ever happened, I think their defensive backfield is in pretty good shape. You mentioned safety is some concern, but I don't think it's a pressing one. I just, unless they get really bad injuries, they ought to have a very, very, very good defense. And as they transition to this totally new offensive framework, they're probably going to need to have a very, very good defense because I don't see them coming out week one, 50 points a game. We've figured this whole thing out over the summer and we're firing on all cylinders and we're blocking a different way than the offensive line has ever blocked before. And, throwing passes that the quarterback has never tried to throw before. And, we're just going to make all that work like magic. It'll be real interesting. The transition period and what happens if they struggle is going to be very, very interesting to me, I think.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's Chip Kelly in week one and everybody is in love.
Yeah, I was, man. That was one of the darndest things I ever
thought. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll tell you what, even though Chip he was ahead of his time because he brought a lot of things to the NFL that they continue to use now. But obviously, he's kind of a one-trick pony, though. He had he had no filter. It's like, when you have 90 guys on Scott, whatever they have in college, and they're 21 and 22, you can play tempo, but when you have Jason Peters, you can't just go a million miles an hour all the time. But that's a discussion for another time. I guess to end it with you at Les Bowen, make sure you follow Les on the X platform. Read him at PHLY. Still doing a tremendous job for those guys. We're always thrilled when we get them here. I mean, at the core, my core issue with this change, Les, comes down to an old Bill Parcells sort of sentiment, which was, and I talk about it all the time. He got mad at his guys one day, and he sort of slammed the table like Nick Sirianni would and said, "Guys, don't tell me what they can't do. Tell me what they can do." Which I think is simple, but I think, common sense is sometimes not all that common. Like, why build an offense around the things the quarterback is not comfortable with versus what he's demonstrated he can perform at a high level? I can't wrap my head around that at any level.
The only answer I can give you, and I agree with you, but the answer, I guess, if I had to take the other side, is maybe they're convinced that opposing defenses have figured out ways to limit, even if the offensive line is healthy, they have found ways to certainly limit the passing game in that context, and maybe even, make the run game less potent. And they just feel like, okay, we've taken this as far as we can under this structure. But it's an amazing, breathtaking experiment. It really is.
Well, I think to beat that, they're going to have to use more of the field, less in the passing game, throw the ball over the middle. They're going to have to make defenses guess more, and I don't know if they're going to do that or not. That's what Mannion's supposed to do. We will see what that looks like this year. Les, we always appreciate when you join the show. Make sure you guys follow him on X at Les Bowen. Les, thanks for doing it today, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Les.
There's Les Bowen joining us right here on Birds 365. Great stuff today. Two great guests from Les Bowen and Scott Grayson. We appreciate both of those guys for joining in today. John, everybody's in wait-and-see mode with this offense, with this team. And I think that's where we are.
It's just uncertain. It's just, it's, you've been told they're going to do a certain thing, and you say, well, why would you do that? It's because it is, the interesting part when we talk about the list is that so many people that want to defend Jalen Hurts correctly default to 2022 and 2024 and what he's done under the old offense, and they're shifting the offense. Now, to Les's point, there's certainly some of that where they think teams have caught up and they need to evolve. But I think there's room to evolve in the system that he has performed at a high level rather than scrap it and start over with something that doesn't seem to be the best fit for his skill set. And maybe they won't. I think that's the hopeful. Maybe it's just branding. Yeah, we're going to do this, but really, Nick Sirianni's week one's going to be here and he's going to try to win a football game, which ultimately, if you force me to predict what's going to happen, that's my prediction. He's going to, when week one gets here, he's going to scale back to what helps him win the football game.
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, the only part of it, John, I disagree with you on to some extent is, like, you don't think defense is at all really caught up with them. You think it's just the deterioration of how well they played, right? I mean, isn't that kind of what you
Yeah, pretty much. But that's my baseline look, if you're the best team and you got the best talent and you execute, doesn't matter what scheme you're running, doesn't matter what they're doing, you're going to win. So, when scheme comes more into it, fans shouldn't want it to come more into it, because when it comes more into it is the worse you get. And when you have to scheme people up because they're not good on their own, and you have to trick people essentially. And generally, sometimes that looks really good early in the game where you're scripting the first 15, 20 openers. And then all of a sudden, as you get later in the game, the talent gap starts to show up and you can't do the same thing. Oh, you fooled them once, but now they know, and the repetition gets into it. And all of a sudden, that 10-0 start when you're like, yeah, we're cooking, it just withers away against the more talented team. If you're the better team, it's about execution. Always.
Right. I guess the only spot where is like, it's got to be easier for NFL defenses, which I'm giving them credit, are as talented as they are. Even bad NFL defenses have great players and great coaches. They don't use the middle of the field, John. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, you can run and you throw to the sides. Like, to me, in my head, and I'm not saying I'm right, that's easier to defend. And then you factor in, obviously, that the offensive line is depleted because they ran inside zone more times than any other team in football. Yeah, the Eagles became easier to defend.
Don't forget the tush push.
Yeah, don't forget.
No, right? but 2024 did exist, and they were doing the same shit.
It did, but remember, I will remind you, during 2024, John, one of your big concerns that year, all the way up until I think it was after they won the divisional round, was, is this sustainable?
Well, the margin of error more than sustainable. Sustainable,
right?
Everybody's
that's fine too. That's fine.
everybody's everybody's got shelf life. I say it all the time. So I mean, ultimately, Father Time gets everybody. So you're going to have the attrition and the cyclical nature of the talent pool is going to get you at some point. Howie's better than most at reloading while he's still pretty good. So you have that advantage. But yeah, the margin of error, I don't like playing this style of football that they did play, because the margin of error is so small. And you saw it in the Super Bowl season. People don't like to talk about it, but I mean, they were a Jalen Carter pass rush away from getting not blown out in the sense of getting destroyed, but blown out of the playoffs in the divisional round. That's how close it was. And then they recovered, and I think a lot of people forget that because they blew out Washington and they blew out the Chiefs. And everything was copacetic. But the margin of error is always very small when you play that risk averse and you're that cautious and you're that, you're a bounce football away from it going the other direction if you're in a close game. So that part of it, I would prefer to have a more impactful offensive team that can overcome some of that. I've never claimed that shouldn't be a goal. But I just don't think they have the horses to have a high volume passing offense. So I'm going to take advantage of what I have. If I have Joe Burrow, if I have one of those four guys, I'm playing a different style of football. Which I also say, be careful what you wish for, because it might look better, it might look prettier, but you might not win as much because you're not as concerned with, oh, we gotta take care of the football like our life depends on it. Whereas, if you have Joe Burrow and you throw an interception early in the game, and maybe it's a short field and you're down 7-0, you go, all right, all right, settle down. We're fine. And you just have a different mindset, a different mentality. So, I mean, if I had one of those, yeah, I'm playing a different style of football and I'm having different conversations. This team is built a certain way for a reason, or was built a certain way for a reason. And they performed at an astonishingly high level with that mindset. And all of a sudden now they're throwing it out. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Here we got a super chat. Dan, what's up, Dan? Good to see you, brother. Dan Bigelow checks in, $5 super chat. Thanks for supporting the channel, per usual. When you have great talent and a great scheme, then you should have an advantage, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you have one or the other, you should have an advantage. But if you have both, you should have a bigger advantage. But again, the one part of it's more important. The great talent is always going to win. Always. Great scheme might get you a win here and there. You know, you're not taking 3-win talent and winning 13 games on a scheme. You've seen a team that has won 14 games, has won Super Bowl playing risk averse, boring, simple football. You've seen it. That's one where I don't know why people argue with me. You have literally seen it. Now there's a lot of fans that conjured up in their minds that they played a different style of football under Shane Steichen and Kellen Moore because they were successful versus Brian Johnson and Kevin Patullo, but they didn't. So, I mean, look, all these cliches, if you're hiring a scheme, you're doing it wrong. If you're chasing a scheme, you're doing it wrong. They're not there because, you know, the worse you are, the more you need to fool people. The more you need the scheme. If you're the Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin,
maybe John, maybe that's where they are. You know, maybe they need the scheme now.
If that's the case, well, they're certainly not that team, you know, with all the Hall of Famers. They're certainly not the Cowboys of the early 90s. But they're certainly not the 3-win team either. You know, they still have the top 5 roster in football. Is it as good as it was 2 years ago? Probably not. But still one of the best teams talent-wise in football. But yeah, I mean, look, there's certain people who think, and I don't know what it is, growing up with Madden, you know, because there's a whole influx of, you know, what Seth Wickersham described in his great article that everybody should read. Influx of social media X's and O's, people who think they know, but they don't know. I don't know what it is. But, you know, every single coach will say the same thing. And that's, show me a good coach, I'll show you a bunch of good players.
Fair enough. Here's one more super chat before we wrap it up. Jerry, what's up, Jerry? Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for supporting the program. All super chats will be read on the show, and we do appreciate that support. Jerry says this, especially in the offseason, by the way. I think Mannion's biggest job is to make Hurts more consistent. He's the definition of inconsistency.
Yeah, I mean, he has these stretches where, again, that's where he can improve. Get him some layups, get him to take some layups. It's like, you hate to make the Ben Simmons comparison, but if you don't want to take the layup, doesn't even matter if you get him the layup. But yeah, you shouldn't go full halves without completing a pass. That shouldn't be a thing. And last year it was a thing twice, which is astonishing. But yeah, as a passer, he's definitely got to be more consistent. No question.
No doubt. Good stuff, Jerry. Appreciate the super chat, man. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts here on a Tuesday edition of the program.
Yeah, we're chopping down the days. 2 weeks away from reporting day. Boy, that's scary. 15 days away from first practice. And we're off and running and talking about actual things happening on the field versus the perception. But we've seen it in the spring. They're trying to do these things. Nobody's trying to bamboozle you. They're trying to work under center. They're in more bunch formations. They're going to stretch zone, outside zone, stretch the field in the running game, try to cut it back. They're trying to do all this stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with trying to improve on what you think is a deficiency. But it's going to be interesting when the games do start, what it boils down to, because then it becomes, again, you're evaluating, you're teaching first, then you're evaluating, and then you got to prepare. And prepare means Washington Commanders, September, 13th? Go beat the Commanders.
Beat the Commanders. Good final message. Johnny Mac, thank you, brother. I will catch up with you tomorrow on a Wednesday edition of Birds 365. Great stuff today. Talk to you then, Johnny Mac.
All right, see you, bud.
All right, later, John. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. A lot of good comments today from both Scott Grayson and Les Bowen. And then also Johnny Mac sharing some truth out as well. Jerry, big thank you, my friend, for your super chat. And also to you, Big Dan. Dan, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Big Jerry and Big Dan supporting the program here in the offseason. I appreciate all you guys. Actually, I'll need your super chats. Let me read to you guys a text I just received from my wife. She's at Target this morning while I'm on the show. She said, I'll need your help to unload when I get home. I spent a lot of money. That's a text I got. I spent a lot of money. I love it, babe. Well done, babe. Good stuff, babe. I said, nice, babe. That was my response. So, we'll see what she came home with. All right. After I get off here, I'll go and help her unload the car. All right. Not Target. She says, that was the earlier text. Gosh, I love Target is what she said. After a couple days at Costco and all the other places, she hit me with the, gosh, I love Target. I'll need help when I get home. I spent a lot of money. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right. Gotta love it. And she also said earlier, I love retirement. All right. So she retired. Her last day of work was last week for now. So that's exciting for her too. So classic. I know Deshae. This guy Deshae. I don't know who's crying more, Deshae or Prince at this point in the offseason. Holy moly. All right. Jerry, did you hear my vet got destroyed? It got crashed into. So I think that problem answered itself. That dilemma answered itself. So I'm shopping for a truck right now. We'll see what I end up getting. We'll see what insurance says. The preliminary estimate on the Corvette before they even – so the first body shop it went to, they didn't have a Corvette tax, so they didn't want to open the car in terms of like going inside it. The preliminary estimate just from the outside was $30K. Now the car has been transferred or has been towed to a Chevrolet, a Sioka, where they got all the they got a bunch of a bunch of Corvette techs. It's one of the biggest Corvette dealers, and I just signed the authorization for them to go inside the car. So we're gonna see. All right, we're gonna see. We're gonna see what's going on. All right, so hopefully it gets totaled out. I'll get an insurance check. I'll blow that sucker out, depending on how the cookie crumbles. But I'm definitely going to pick up another truck. So we'll see. I like Raptors. Yeah, I'm not going. I don't know if I'm going Ford. I'm probably going back Ram. I loved my Ram when I had it. All right. I don't know if I've ever showed you guys you guys remember when I had the Ram? This was before I traded it. Before I traded it for the Corvette. I had a sweet Ram. I miss my Ram. Ram was a great truck. Thing was husky. So I might go back to Ram route, honestly. Thing is hot. I miss it. So we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing. I'm shopping now. Truck is a good bet with your wife shopping spree. That's classic. Toyota, Siglor, do I look like M. Reyes to you? You can enjoy your fucking Toyota, all right? But it's reliable. I want a Hemi. Siglor, you got a problem? I want a Hemi. All right? I want my balls to tingle when I hit the gas in my truck. If I'm getting rid of the Corvette, I'm not going to a little inline, a 4-cylinder Tacoma. Fuck that. All right? Give me the damn Hemi. I don't care who. Sig Lord, I will stand alone, Sig. Come on, man. Sig Lord, I know you're not like that. You're not the type of guy to need people on your side. Toyotas are reliable and last long. Yeah, have you looked at into the new Tundras? 150,000 of them recalled. Bunch of junk. Bunch of junk. No, I'm not a Jeep guy. I actually hate Jeeps. I just went through this. I know, PA is so true, dude. You just don't know with insurance. All right? You just don't know. Here's Jerry. My dad and mom have a 68 Vet, Candy Apple. Damn, is that a C3, a 68? Is that a C3? I think it is. Yeah, it's a C3. Yeah, that's fire. That's fire. C3 is cool. I would love to buy like a piece of crap C3. And maybe that'll be my dad project. I'm working on that in the garage. I'm actually looking at a Macan for my wife, but I need a good deal on it. All right. A recall holding you back from vehicular race. I wouldn't just classify 150,000 replaced engines as a recall, my friend. A recall is like, the driver's side windows didn't work. Stopped working in a few instances. I would call that a recall. 150,000 replaced engines. I don't know about that, M. Reyes. They had to replace 150K motors. Come on, man. Come on, man. I know. I'd love to get that time. I can't go to that yet. All right. I can't go to that yet. Zander, have you heard REOs? I don't know about that. Rivian? Nah, not for me. I'm not going electric. I'm not going electric. I'm uninterested in electric at this point. I'm uninterested in electric at this point. I got to get my wife out of her car too. She's got like 85,000 miles on that thing. That's not happening. We're getting her out of that sucker. We're getting her out of that sucker. Get prepped for mom life. All right. Joe Webb says he's getting a Rivian. Yeah, not for me. Rasmussen, I would love to get a motorcycle. I would love give me a little Harley. Are you kidding me? Or a Ducati Harley Roadster. Have you seen those Harley Roadsters? Dude, they're hot. Look at these Harley Roadsters. These things are cool as shit. I like these. I like these a lot. Little Harley Roadster. Look at that. That thing is dumb. Cruise around Bucksco in the Harley Roadster. No, I don't right now. I won't be getting one, but I do like them. All right. I spend $20 a month and I don't care. I'm not gonna whine and cry about a couple bucks in gas. $25, I think. What is she doing? Yeah, 25. When them quintuplets come, you will buy them up. That would be sick. What is quintuplets? Is that 4? 5? Whoa! That would be nuts. The funniest part is my wife would love that. She'd say, I'll take it. He moved here too, 18. He moves in at the end of July. 2 weeks, he closes on a house. Jason, you didn't hear me say this. My brother and I will be 3 miles away from each other. 3 miles. Actually, he was here this weekend and we went and saw his house. 3 miles away. It's 6 minutes. It's 6 minutes. Look, your life is over. What do you mean? Life keeps getting better. Everybody tells me, oh, it's going to get worse. Oh, you're going to get it. Oh, no. You're all a bunch of losers. Life just keeps getting better, baby. Life keeps getting better. Take your doomer mindsets and shove them. Freaking goobers. Come on, man. Yeah, Sig Lord, good question. Good question. All right, I got to go. My wife might be home with the order. Let's go see what she got. All right. I like when I get that text. I spent a lot of money. Sweet. Love it. That's good living. Let's see. Let's check the location. Is she on the way home yet? She is on the way home, but she is not home yet. All right. She is not home yet. Xander getting me fired up for nothing. Peace. I love getting fired up. All right. All right. I love it. Xander's got married and going broke. Not Hurts. No comment. That's all right, brother. It's just money. It comes back to us. It's all good. My life gets better every day. Steve, that's how I feel. It just keeps getting better. It just keeps getting better. It really does. Zander probably thinks he'll be running the house. Hey, Joe, don't project your life. I don't know, Joe. I don't know. You guys married some alpha females. I don't really have that. My wife would prefer me to make most decisions, which is good. I'm good with that. Life gets better when you. I'm not dooming about the Birds. I think they're going to be pretty good. I think the Birds are going to be pretty good. Right? If your boyfriend, Jalen Hurts, should play a little better, and they might go to the damn Super Bowl. I mean, if Jalen Hurts plays pretty good this year, I think we could be parading down Broad Street. Come on, man. Come on, man. Reyes, that's hilarious. Oh, Reyes, I give you credit, Reyes. You are a funny dude. All right. Zander, you should do a JAKIB home run derby or JAKIB pass punt kick. That would be a sight to be seen, Siglord. We'd have a bunch of crickets from the people. It's like Silly at my wedding. Crickets. Cricket City. I get jumped every day. Prince, I'd love to have some boys. I'd love it, though. I'd love it. I'm excited for everything. Whatever God brings to me, I will be happy with. All right. Does John smoke weed? I have no idea. I have no clue. And I don't care. He's a grown-ass man. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Z, married 40 years, and the only thing I want to be in charge of is my man. Is Big Mike. Big Mike's doing it right. My guy, Big Mike, knows what's up. Ricardo, that's great advice right there. Keep God in the household. I agree with you, brother. And I agree with what you said as well. All right. Look at Rasmussen. Look at all you guys projecting. I've learned so much. You know, even everybody. Oh, you're married now. Sorry, we lost you. I'm like, holy shit, your life must suck. I don't know. Don't project that on me. Holy crap. John, I'm not sure who you're talking to there. The fire is out of Z's eyes now. Is that right, Reyes? Reyes, I got some news to share with you soon. I think you'll see these eyes up in flames, Reyes. Yeah, Keith, what's up with that? What's up with that? What's up with that? Kimberly, I saw a comment you made earlier. My boy Brian Fleming was on to me earlier. I think that was yesterday. I don't know if he's here today. Kimberly, put out the over-under. Let me hear it. All right. Put out the over-under. You know, there's these reels that go around. And it's like, it's this. The song is, I've got the magic in me. And every time I touch that track, it turns into gold. I know, Reyes, you can't relate. I know. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. Maybe one day, Reyes, Maybe one day. Rasputin says, the dynamic changes when the first pregnancy test comes back positive. I just saw that. I didn't even see it over the weekend. Lindsey Graham died. That was weird to see. Rest in peace to him. It's a small world after all. It is. John, I agree with that. I don't know. I was over in Italy. It didn't feel like a small world. I was over in Italy. It didn't feel like that at all. All right. Siglord may be. Who knows? Prince, you're not Prince. There's no way that you're a doomer in life. Prince, you don't strike me as a doomer. We got a lot of doomers in here, but I don't think you're a doomer. Are you, Prince? No, you're not a doomer. I don't think Reyes is a doomer, to his credit. Prince, how old are your sons? How old are your sons, if you don't mind me asking? If you don't want to share it in the chat, you don't have to. Mr. Sparks says, you're building layers to inner peace. A good woman will make you a better person. A child will make you a stronger one. Wow, I like one of those. I'm going to print that out, put that on my wall. Mr. Sparks, that's poetic. That is poetic. Oh, Deshay, I know. Deshay says, I'm a doomer. Oh, I'm well aware of this, Deshay. All right? I'm well aware of this. Nah, Prince, you're not. What woman wrote that? That's the most singular answer to that I've ever seen in my life. 6 and 4. God bless, Prince. That's beautiful. All right? That's beautiful, brother. That is funny. Children teach patience. Well, that'll be good. My wife needs more of that than I do. Kimberly says, honestly, Z, I wish you a life full of babies and happiness. Amen. Amen. You know, Kimberly, I'm not really one to optimize for happiness, though. Happiness is fleeting. Today you're happy, tomorrow you're sad. You know? If your entire meaning and existence is attached to a fleeting and ever-changing emotion, to me, that's a bad place to put it. You know? He read that off before. Oh, yeah, the share. I think you're jealous. Mr. Sparks is out here spitting super hot fire. This guy should be a freaking poet. This guy should be a poet. All right? This guy's like Shakespeare. All right, John. John, let's stay on the rails here. The garden, I actually am building my wife a garden. A little 3-stack garden, like a little 2-stack, a little wood. You know, it's not my house. I'm renting here. All right? I'm renting here. So I can't do as much to it as I would like. But I'm building a little garden for her. All right? All right, I like that one. You don't find peace, you choose it. That's a good one, Rasputin. I choose peace. Steal your happiness from tomorrow, then. There's a finite amount of happiness in the world. That's a doomer. I like that rebuttal, M. Rice. I like that rebuttal. I just think that inevitably in life, you don't only experience, you're not in a stasis of happiness, if that makes sense. You know, God didn't give us every emotion to only feel one of them. Yes, it's like I built one at my mom's house for her, and she's great at it. I mean, my mom's Italian, that makes sense. But and we have like these little deer that keep coming over and they eat all our shit. It's hilarious. She gets so pissed. Little air rifle is a good idea, actually. Wow, look at this. Ibrahim is married with 6 kids. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking about. I don't see him dooming. Oh, you're married. Your life's going to suck now. Oh, you're having kids. Your life's going to suck now. Ibrahim, the commenter of the day. Freaking love it. All right. All right, I got to go. My wife's back from Target. Let me go see what she got. I'll give you guys the report tomorrow on Zander Time of what exactly was acquired at Target today. I got pictures of coffee machines, mini fridges, mats, rugs, carpets, you name it. Hangers. I mean, shit, we'll see. We will see. Love all you guys. See you next time, everybody.